Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. So I've got the XRP chart up here on the hourly. Guys, it looks as though we are seeing a bit of activity here in the crypto space, at least for XRP at the moment. As I was doing my research this morning, prices weren't terribly active, but it looks like we are starting to move up quite significantly here. Let me throw that on the 5-minute chart. Yeah, so it looks as though about how many minutes ago? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, about 30 minutes ago, XRP did start moving upward, moving from about 21 cents currently now at about 23.5 cents, getting up as high as just past 24.5 cents. So it looks like something is now spurring on the market, at least for XRP. And yeah, Bitcoin is also moving up higher. So it looks as though something is now moving the market. Bitcoin coming out of what we were analyzing the other day, the similar kind of pattern that we saw back in November of 2024. It was, pretty much an ascending bullish triangular pattern. I have it on the 4-hour right now. You guys can see that in there. And that occurred again after we did get the election results. And then after that, we did, of course, see Bitcoin making higher highs. So are we going to see the same thing now for Bitcoin, guys? Breaking out of this similar pattern in here, that ascending bullish triangular pattern. And now it's looking like Bitcoin is moving up. So that's all great news. I got to say, fear still in 51, but I guess we're still at the beginning of this. Market cap has hit $3 trillion once again. We're up 1.20%. And the volume's up as well by a little bit, 1.35%. Altcoins, it's looking as though they are partaking in this rally alongside Bitcoin. Bitcoin is up 1.27% in the last 24 hours. Ethereum's up 2.04. We got XRP, that is up by a little bit, 0.26. BNB coin's up by 0.39. Solana's also up 2.88%. So single digits for now. Hopefully, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed throughout the day. If we do see more activity here on the chart, you guys will know about it. So what else can we glean from this? I mean, it looks a lot more exciting when we zoom in. I got to admit, when we zoom out, it's still more of the same, more work to be done, really. Although, I got the XRP chart back up here. When we do see these new higher highs, that is a good indication that we are going to continue to climb to higher levels. So the trend is in check. That is always positive news. For more information, though, on how I'm viewing this bull run, particularly into 2025 and possibly beyond, because it did start off quickly and ferociously and then died down. And it seems like we've been in this waiting pattern for quite a while. Follow me at patreon.com/workingmoneychannel. That's where I give a more detailed explanation, my cash out strategy, how much XRP I'm going to hold, where I'm going to be selling, my selling targets, all that fun stuff. I think I've also made up my mind, that I'm going to be trading live, my altcoin portfolio live once that does happen too. So patreon.com/workingmoneychannel for all of that and much more. Zafe here posting this, guys. Big breaking news. The latest is the XRP ETF going to outperform Ethereum. Well, Matt Hugin seems to think so. He was just recently on the Paul Barron Network. Listen to this.
Just in general, the XRP ETF, and I'm thinking XRP ETF and Ethereum ETF. Which do you think is going to be the easier to sell to an investor coming in?
That's a tricky one. So whether we get an XRP ETF, of course, I don't know, and I can't speak to Bitwise's specific ETF. Broadly speaking, I think you have to look at, how excited are people about each ecosystem? One of the things XRP has going for it is that there are people who are skeptical of it, and then there are people who are strongly bullish on XRP. I think one of the challenges Ethereum has had is it's more mixed, more people in this sort of nuanced position. You even heard my take, which was it could be a great time to buy if we see these conditional news environments. So I think an XRP ETF will resonate, particularly with the people who have been bullish on that space, but want exposure in an ETF format. And maybe the fervency of XRP bulls will make it attractive in terms of asset gathering out of the gate.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think there are more confirmed positive bullish factors surrounding the XRP ETF compared to Ethereum. Ethereum, it's still a bunch of, we got to wait and see about X, Y, and Z and beyond even that before we can finally make a decision, an educated decision on this. So interesting to say the least. Wanted to thank Zafe for posting that. I'm sure you guys did hear the news. This is the big news from yesterday. Ripple did put in a bid, $4 to $5 billion to purchase Circle, and Circle has rejected it. So what does this mean? What could be going on at the Ripple upper brass level? What's the train of thought here Blockchain firm Ripple made a multi-billion-dollar bid to acquire USDC issuer, but the offer was rejected. So we know Ripple's already got the RLUSD. Why would you want to purchase Circle? Are you looking to just buy them out, take out the competition? I know the other day, and I know in several videos I did say all boats will rise. The competition isn't necessarily, well, it's not necessarily the worst thing, but maybe there is more than meets the eye here. I'm going to get into this, guys, today, okay? Blockchain payments firm Ripple has reportedly bid up to $5 billion. So it started at 4 and it went to 5. And you know how much more 5 billion is than 4 billion? That's a lot more money. Not just a little more money, a lot more money. And so this was in an effort to acquire stablecoin issuer Circle. Of course, it was rejected. According to an April 30th Bloomberg report, Ripple put in a bid for $4 billion to $5 billion as part of an attempted takeover of Circle, which was rejected as being too low. Ripple hasn't considered whether to make another purchase bid, and I guess we're still waiting on that. The reported acquisition attempt came less than 30 days after Circle applied for an initial public offering, so let's keep that in mind as well. There's an IPO on the table. Cointelegraph reached out to representatives at Circle and Ripple for comment, but did not receive a response. Ripple reportedly had an $11 billion valuation in 2024. An estimate CEO Brad Garlinghouse called outdated as of January. The blockchain company purchased prime brokerage house Hidden Road, so that's another aspect to this, guys. Remember who Ripple is acquiring, okay? Hidden Road, they acquired Medico a couple of years ago, and now they're looking for Circle. It is unclear whether Ripple intends to pursue the Circle acquisition as the firm begins to clear some of its legal entanglements with U.S. regulators. In August of 2024, a court found Ripple liable for $125 million, so we know about the court case there. Don't have to go over that. So this is a very, very interesting turn of events, I gotta say. I don't think anybody was expecting that. Well, maybe not so much. I mean, maybe some people were. I guess it's not that far off the mark here. Crypto Addy posting this. The question is, when did Ripple put in the offer price to Circle? Probably before the Circle Payments Network. Okay, remember, these things just don't happen, at the drop of a hat. These things take preparation, and so Circle did recently just announce their payment network. So maybe the price is a bit outdated, says Crypto Addy here. Ripple is likely more motivated than ever, which would make a second offer amount sound very interesting. 2 digits maybe with a B. So that is, the next kind of question, I think, for the XRP community. What does this mean? Will they make another offer? Given on how much revenue Circle makes and their market penetration, the current offer we know about is a joke, says Dr. Artur Kurjakulov here. Bill Morgan saying the CPN announcement in light of news of the offer now seems strategic. You compete with us on stablecoins and we will compete with Ripple payments. Coming from Circle's perspective, he's saying here, Ripple has a huge advantage, a supply of XRP with a huge market value. So that is also very true here. Crypto Boom saying, if you can't get them, you block them. So now you know what's coming next. Ripple's going to make the move that allows them to limit Circle's reach and expand their own. So that is pretty much probably what's on everybody's mind here, probably what's going on in terms of strategy. Jungle Inc. commenting, Ripple tried to buy Circle for $5 billion, but the deal fell through. He's saying it probably wasn't the valuation. Ripple doesn't have $5 billion in cash. The offer likely included a large amount of Ripple's equity stock that's currently illiquid and hard to value in private markets. So that's a possibility here. Circle, issuer of USDC, may have been unwilling to trade control for illiquid shares, especially with Ripple launching its own stablecoin. Circle already holds a substantial amount of valuable pre-IPO equity, so Ripple's offer likely heavily in illiquid private stock wasn't particularly attractive. If we see significant interest rate cuts in the future, valuations in private equity could drop, potentially giving Ripple another opportunity to revisit the deal at a lower price. So that is another big factor. So there's a lot of big factors going on here. Rate cuts, guys. Let's keep that in mind too, and let's talk a little bit about that. So what Jungle Inc. is saying is, if there's a rate cut, that means money is cheaper to borrow, which means people will borrow more money, invest them in risk-on assets like cryptocurrency and stocks. And, if these guys do IPO, that IPO could be worth more, and so they don't want to sell their company short. So that's one angle that we should consider. Let's take a look at this from John Squire. Ripple trying to buy Circle for $5 billion wasn't just a deal, it was a missile. This isn't about moving money anymore, it's about becoming the money. USDC just isn't a stable coin. It's the institutional darling, that regulator's choice, the one that plays nice with TradFi. Ripple didn't want to compete with that. They want to absorb it. So that could be another angle here. Of course, a straight business play. Own the narrative, own the rails, own the future, he says. But Circle said no, and that no was just as loud as the offer. because this isn't about companies, it's about who controls the next era of finance. This isn't Ripple versus Circle. It's Ripple saying we want it all, and Circle replaying we don't need to sell to win. And honestly, they're both right. The winner of the digital dollar game won't be the one with the best tech. It'll be the one with vision, patience, and teeth. So that's another interesting perspective here from John Squire. I do think that is true to a degree as well. If you do want to succeed in business, I mean, it's a pretty traditional concept in business. You need to be vicious. You need to compete in order to succeed. So another possibility here, I don't know. I feel like there is more strategy involved, though. Andrew's here commenting as well. Ripple acquiring Circle would be extremely bullish, okay, since USDC is already integrated with exchanges everywhere. So we got to think about USDC permeation versus RLUSD in the moment, okay? Today, USDC is pretty much everywhere. RLUSD is still getting off the ground. Tons of trading pairs for USDC, he says. USDC having great liquidity, Circle having a great number of partnerships, regulatory compliant stablecoin. As far as I'm aware, only USDC and the Euro C or the EURC has proven to be MiCA compliant or MiCA compliant. USDC is regulatory compliant or regulatorily compliant in a bunch of other jurisdictions as well, such as Japan. So they've got territory already. With RLUSD, they're having great progress, but it could take years to get in the same position as Circle. And, it would be a lot quicker if they just acquired Circle. So Anders also noticing something else. This is interesting. Since Circle's revenue model depends on U.S. interest rate cuts, let's get back to that. U.S. interest rate cuts. So what I was talking about with IPO price going up if rate cuts go down, this is another angle that Anders comments on. So a cutting of rates would greatly impact Circle's revenue, and the Coinbase deal was proven to be costly. So there was also a Coinbase deal here on the table, guys. Ripple, on the other hand, has a much more sustainable and greater revenue model that's hard to beat. I mean, they're using billions of dollars to acquire companies right now. So a stablecoin business would just be part of Ripple's overall business and could handle any handle any interest rate fluctuations with ease. And what happens to Circle if we see great downturn in the U.S. economy and they're forced to cut rates? Well, we know Trump wants rate cuts very badly. So if they get rate cuts and part of Circle's business model is based on high interest rates, well, that means their revenue goes down. And Anders was just retweeting out Smoke's tweet with regards to this too. Circle's upcoming IPO filing has just exposed a major weakness, and this again goes back to this whole Coinbase. Still takes 50% of USDC's reserve revenue, even after Circle paid $210 million to cut them out of the consortium. That's a massive profit leak, and Ripple has the capital structure and incentive to fix it. So another angle here. In 2024, Circle made $1.68 billion in revenue, but only $156 million in net income, weighted down by operational costs and the Coinbase arrangement. Ripple, on the other hand, has multiple cash flow channels: XRP sales to institutions, cross-border payment fees, interest, income, and investments. Ripple doesn't carry the baggage Circle does. So, at least from this perspective, they have the upper hand. Ripple does. In Ripple, if Ripple steps in, they can absorb Circle's revenue, restructure the Coinbase terms, and boost margins. They can integrate USDC into RippleNet and the liquidity hub, turning stablecoins into a native part of the Ripple ecosystem. They can combine XRP speed with USDC's regulatory acceptance, creating a two-token juggernaut for global finance. Ripple is battle-tested, having fought and survived SEC scrutiny, and it's now in a prime position to lead in regulated digital asset markets. By acquiring Circle, Ripple instantly gains access to over $60 billion in circulating USDC, adding scale and reach to their already global infrastructure. I think really it's more of a strategic play for Ripple to be able to permeate more markets globally. If I were to be honest, I don't think there's much more thought going into this than just their strategy to acquire a lot of companies. USDC does already have a lot of partnerships, and so this would just bode well for Ripple's bottom line. Although all these other factors that many people in the XRP community are commenting on do hold weight as well. I mean, maybe they're just unintended factors. Maybe the CEOs at Ripple or Circle may look at some of these posts and be like, we didn't even think of that. But let's keep moving along. With XRP as a liquidity token and USDC as a regulated stablecoin, Ripple would control both rails and reserves in the new financial stack. This would cement Ripple's role as the backbone for global payments. So could it be that Well, I think it is. I think primarily Ripple does want to take the majority, the lion's share. And how do they do it? Well, they do it this way, right? By taking out the competitor. Stellar Rippler also posted this. Okay, why would Ripple, which is launching their own stablecoin, try to acquire a direct competitor? Because it's not about competition, it's about consolidation. So again, having so many stablecoins is kind of a redundancy. Ripple reportedly made a $4 to $5 billion deal to acquire Circle. But this isn't just a headline, it's a major signal about where the stablecoin wars are going to go. He says here, let's connect the timeline. So May 2024, Ripple announces their plans to launch the RLUSD. Mid-24, USDC expands to more chains. Late 24, rumors begin of tensions around Circle's valuation. And now in 2025, Ripple makes the deal. USDC currently leads in regulatory adoption. So you got to remember that too. USDC is already very much regulated, whereas RLUSD not as much, although Ripple is trying to make that happen. 80% of US-based crypto exchanges offer USDC pairs integrated with Stripe, Robinhood, and Visa, backed fully by reserves and US Treasuries, deemed a regulated stablecoin in US policy discussions. Also, RLUSD is Ripple's in-house stablecoin, launching on the XRP ledger and Ethereum. But launching a new stablecoin in a saturated market is hard and adoption takes time. So acquiring USDC equals the shortcut to liquidity and dominance. Yeah, I mean, if you take the most regulated stablecoin, if you buy out that company, well, then you're leaps and bounds ahead already. This also positions Ripple as the default settlement layer for both CBDCs via Ripple's CBDC platform and stablecoins via the Circle USDC infrastructure. So it's not a competition, it's a consolidation, he says. If the deal would have happened, Ripple would control two top stablecoins, a real-time liquidity rail, an ISO 20022 compliant settlement layer, partnerships with governments and global banks. That's not a fintech company, that's a parallel financial system. Meanwhile, USDT, so let's get to Tether, remains dominant, but regulatory fire is intensifying. USDC is seen as a compliant option. If Ripple owns USDC, it becomes a regulatory favorite for stable value globally. So no, Ripple doesn't need to buy Circle to beat it. It's trying to collapse the competition into its own network while aligning with the new monetary system being built quietly. And so what happens to RLUSD? Well, it becomes the wholesale rail for institutional corridors, while USDC remains the retail stablecoin on top of Ripple's stack. And I mean, that's an interesting question. Think about it this way. Ripple could just, for all intents and purposes, buy out Circle and then just rebrand USDC as the RLUSD and then just ditch their current RLUSD. And then now they're regulatorily compliant. So I mean, that's one option too. I mean, we don't really know what's going to happen for, in the long term, but there's so many different possibilities here. So the Ripple Circle deal may not have gone through, but the fact that Ripple even made $5 billion offer is massive. It shows they're not just competing in the stablecoin game, they're aiming to absorb infrastructure and position themselves as the backbone for global finance. This deal was bigger than most realize, and it's not over. So I'm still, wondering too what's going to happen next. Wanted to thank Stellar Rippler, of course, Smoke, Andrews here, John Squire, Jungle Inc., Crypto Eddie, Zafe, and everybody else who participated. Now, the light shines in the darkness. This is coming from Matthew Lany. U.S. Department of Treasury is getting ready for stablecoin implementation. Maybe this has something to do with it as well. If we are seeing, consider this. The Treasury, they are looking to adopt stablecoins. Ripple is looking to acquire USDC. You guys see something that might be connected here? This is another angle that I don't think was touched on enough, considering this is a fact. I think this also plays a large role in this. Matt also does post a link here if you guys want to see the PDF, and I will link this in the description of the video for you. This digital money PDF was just released yesterday, April the 30th, 2025. If you guys are watching this video on the day that I'm releasing it. So, U.S. Department of Treasury, and I'm sure, it's no surprise Ripple does want to play a large role in that. So wanted to thank Matt for posting that. On top of which, guys, another great one here from Smoke. How Circle and Stellar operate together. Could it be a two birds with one stone operation here? Ripple not only gets rid of Circle's USDC competitor, but maybe could also get rid of Stellar as the XRP competitor. Now imagine all of this under the Ripple umbrella. Things that make you go, The Stellar blockchain and USDC, they have partnerships with MoneyGram. They're used to off-ramp stablecoins for cross-border remittances. So this is another partnership that Stellar did form with USDC back then. And guys, if this now goes through, maybe that partnership would dissolve. XRP would be the cryptocurrency of choice, and the rest would be history. So many angles here to consider. I don't know if you guys have an opinion on this. I know for me personally, I'm considering this bull run very, very carefully before I make choices to cash out at any particular price. And if you guys want to see what my cash out targets are for my XRP and others, follow me at patreon.com/workingmoneychannel. But again, that's just my opinion. I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.